Hi, I'm Buckley Brinkman with the Wisconsin Center for Manufacturing and Productivity, and we're proud to present the 4th annual Wisconsin Manufacturing Report. We believe it's the most comprehensive picture of manufacturing and manufacturers that the state has to offer. We're able to bring this to you through the cooperation and generous support of two of our sponsors, the First Business Bank, which has been with us since the beginning, and a brand new sponsor, Top Floor Technologies. And also our two partners, WMEP Manufacturing Solutions and the Manufacturing Outreach Center at UW-Stout, two of the best implementers of some of these ideas and trends that you're going to see in the next few minutes. So without further ado, let me introduce Rob Autry from Meeting Street, who put together this whole report for us.
Thank you, Buckley. It's great to be with you for the 4th year in a row. And what I'm going to do before we get into this year's data is kind of help set the table and provide a little bit of a roadmap for what we learned in this year's survey. First, when we ask manufacturers how they feel about the business climate and the economy here in Wisconsin, a lot of manufacturers feel like the economy is kind of stuck in neutral. They use words like stalled or steady or stable to describe current economic conditions. Despite the fact that they don't feel the economy necessarily is growing at the rate they would like, they're still extremely confident about the future of their firms. So we're going to dive into a little bit about that disconnect. 3, when we ask manufacturers what are they most concerned about, for the 2nd year in a row, workforce issues climb to the top of the list. But there's also growing fears and concerns about cybersecurity and cyber attacks. And then finally, we see more manufacturers embracing automation and AI than we've seen in years past. Before we get to this year's survey, let me explain a little bit about what we've done. For the 4th year in a row, we've conducted a quantitative survey of 400 manufacturing executives across the state. This is a 25-minute questionnaire conducted among 400 executives, which gives us about 10,000 minutes of data that we pour through here. The margin of error for this survey is 4.9%. And as Buckley mentions, there's 3 other surveys that we've conducted at similar points in the last 4 years. In addition to this data, we've also conducted a series of focus groups using Catalyst to facilitate those sessions. These were in-person focus groups in Madison, Milwaukee, Green Bay, and Monotony among manufacturing executives. And we conducted 1 virtual group statewide. These were done September 10th through the 12th. So like the survey data, very fresh data. One of the things that we do with the survey, and the reason why it takes 3 to 4 weeks to complete, is we go to great lengths to make sure that our sample is reflective of the manufacturing community as a whole. So using known census stats, we set and model our sample to make sure that it's reflective and representative of the manufacturing community. Before we get into this year's findings, I think it's helpful to provide a little context to understand where were we coming into this. So I'll look back at what last year's key takeaways were. Workforce concerns had risen to the top of the list. Previous year, we'd seen concerns about supply chain issues and inflation, but those were dampened a year ago as workforce issue tops the list. We started to see the sprinklings or beginnings of manufacturers looking for growth in terms of looking for new customers and new markets. And while they were optimistic about the future of their firm, they were starting to express some concerns about the overall economy. Automation had gained a little bit of momentum, but AI had not. A lot of manufacturers were reluctant and hesitant to embrace AI in their businesses. So where are we this year? Well, let's start at the view from 30,000 feet. The first question we ask out of the gate is, would you say that the business climate in the state is generally heading in the right direction, which are the blue bars here, or is it off on the wrong track, which is the red bars here? This year's data, for the first time, right direction numbers have dropped below 50. Wrong track numbers have largely stayed the same at about 31%. Where we have seen an increase is the not opinion, not sure, don't know. That number is up 7 points to 22%. So almost 1 out of 4 manufacturers aren't really sure how to rate the business economy or the business climate in the state. Now, when it comes to the economy, we ask manufacturers, do you think the economy is growing? In the blue bars, mostly flat, the yellow bars slowing down, in the light red bars, or in a recession in the red bars. If If you look at this year's data compared to last year's data, not much of a change. In fact, the data is pretty similar. Only 23% believe we're in a growing economy, the same as it was a year ago. 34% believe it's mostly flat. But when you add the slowing down and the recession, 39% of manufacturers believe the economy is slowing down to some degree, which is a plurality of manufacturers today. Despite the uneasiness and unsureness about the economy, manufacturers tell us they're pretty confident about the future of their own companies. In fact, confidence level has been really consistent over the 4 years that we've asked this question. This is probably the most stable data that we've seen. 85% of manufacturers are confident about the future of their firm. 36% say they're very confident. Only 12% of manufacturers say they are not confident about the future of their firm.
So this data always perplexes me because there's such a dichotomy between what manufacturers think about their own companies and what they think about the outside world, whether it's the economy or the progress that's being made in general. And so we dove into this in the focus groups, and what we really found was this issue of control. Manufacturers felt that they had control over the things that were happening within their four walls, within their own company. And they were less certain about the leadership and the things that were happening outside of their company and outside of their control. And so that's what really causes the difference in these two numbers. The really high confidence they have in their own companies, and they're a little less sure of folks outside of their realm.